The best CG of all. Your creative genius. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, where a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who's going to be paying off his March Madness losses for a long time. Nick, how you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I did not do very good in March Madness. Um, I had Arizona going all the way. I really didn't do very much research, but I had Arizona going very far, and they did not go very far. Oh, they went pretty far, but I really they went out earlier than I thought. And and so did Duke, I think, and so it was pretty rough. But yeah, yeah. March, I have a saying: March Madness, April Sadness. That's sort of the way it goes for me. But yeah, so I mean, so yeah, just hit us up on that. We have a Patreon for that, and a Kickstarter, and a GoFundMe that are going to be used to pay off my gambling debts for a really long time. But yeah. How are you, Joe?
If you or a loved one suffer from gambling addiction, please call or seek help where needed. Okay. No, I'm doing all right.
There's a
Things are
number for
okay.
that.
There
Like
is, and I just unfortunately I couldn't. I didn't know off the top of my head, or else I would have done it too.
at the end of a lot of podcasts I listen to, there's they run that ad for gambling help, and I never remember the number, but I do remember that the New York version is Hope NY, something Hope NY. So I guess you just Google it if you need gambling help these days. Anyway, so
Usually, that's to cover themselves because they're talking and promoting gambling, and therefore, at the end of those type of things, they say, "Hey, seek help." Just like every lotto ad or something like that. They're like, "Hey, buy our scratch off, join our lotto ticket thing. By the way, if you need help, or like that's to cover themselves legally.
it's
So
it's sports
maybe
podcasts where they talk a lot
yeah,
about gambling. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of shady people in sports. Yeah, okay. Uh,
There's a lot of shady people everywhere. But yeah, especially in sports. You're definitely right about that. Anyway, how
you
are
got
you,
to be on
Joe?
the right side of that. No, I'm doing all right. It's still weird weather by me, so it's we got hail the other day. Uh
Okay.
Lightning, all sorts of, to the point where our internet was down for a long time. Yeah, they've been fixing it sporadically through the week. 5 days in a row now. Every day for most of the day, like daytime hours, like, oh yeah, no internet for you. So
Fun.
yeah.
Very fun. Very nice. Very nice.
I've not gotten to download a lot of stuff. I just finally got to download the Pragmata. It's like full game, and we'll be looking forward to that this week. But haven't had a chance to touch it yet.
Yeah, a lot of people are already running through it a little bit. I am looking forward to playing it. Um, but there's like I've now got a bunch of games that I've started to play. One of which I am done with. I'm not going to play any more of it. I don't think, even though I have more hours I could put into it. But then two others that kind of started and kind of peeled off from just because better stuff keeps coming out. But I guess that's kind of going to be the season for it. But this is this is life as a game podcaster.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of which, why don't we just jump right into what we have been playing? So yeah, Nick, what have we been playing?
We've been playing a little game called Replaced. Um, so this game, I didn't realize how long this game has been in development. I heard 8 years. I heard that it was first announced or revealed in some way, shape, or form back in 2021. Which, when I say the words 2021, it doesn't sound like that long ago, but that was like 5 years ago. That's a really long time. So, Replaced. So this is a game that where do I start? It's a side-scrolling cyberpunk kind of adventure, with like action combat and stuff like that. But it's the art style that is sort of what makes it, which differentiates it from a lot of other games. it is a bit of it's a pixel art style, um, but it also has a little bit of a tilt shift aspect to it. So there's it's definitely not just pixels. They're using that kind of aesthetic, but it's really doing a lot more. And so seeing this game in a trailer, that's what I think is going to be what catches your attention. But yeah, so it's cyberpunk kind of adventure. You're a guy who not sure how much to really give away here, but it is at the very beginning of the game. You are a guy who's who is interfacing with an AI, and there's some sort of accident or problem, and then the AI is now inside of your brain, and more things happen, and you have to run, and then you have to figure out how to resolve the problem. But yeah, so I was looking forward to this game quite a bit, more than I would like to admit at this point. Um, and that's what I'll say for now. Joe, how are you enjoying this game? I think you said you're about 3 or 4 hours in.
Yeah, I'm at chapter 4 right now.
Okay.
So I don't think saying the chapter name isn't a spoiler, but
No.
anyways, I've gotten my teeth into it pretty good. It's there is some flaws in here. I'll go ahead and start. I'll start with the bad, and then 'cause in the end, it's still yeah. All right, I guess here we go. Just rip off this band-aid. So as you mentioned before, though, the gameplay style is it's for me it's like flashback or another world or out of this world, depending on which region you're in. Um, which were old like Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis kind of games.
Mm.
Um, they had they kind of played like the original rotoscoped slash Prince of Persia, like the old Prince of Persia. So that's exactly what this is. You run left or right, like Metrovania style, but without the exploration really. At least the backtracking, I should say. There is exploration, just not backtracking really. And uh, I died a lot in this game, but mostly self-inflicted.
Yeah, I've had some of
Because
that.
because what I do is I'm like, well, let me just double check. Let me see if I can look down this, and I just jump down a hole. And luckily, it does. It's very. I guess I should say
Yes, exactly.
it's to its credit, the save states, auto saves. It's pretty generous on those for the most part. Uh, but one of the biggest things is I'm playing with on the PC, and I have uh, headphones on. I'm hearing a weird audio inconsistency with the music. So it's kinda like a wobbling sound, like a warbling. So
Hmm.
it's like as if it was trying to fade in and out, or if it was due to the rain effect or some other sound effects, but it seems to not be consistent with the tone of the music. And I can understand, like, in a scene or something like that, if you're in a spot where it's particularly loud, like if you're by a waterfall or if you're like in any other game, if you're like maybe hearing a car pass by or something like that, you'd be able to hear that sound effect over. But this is kind of like the actual rain was interrupting the actual music. I'm like, that was making it kind of annoying for me. Uh, there is a lot of this is a text game. There is no voice, despite there having a dialogue volume level, there's actually no dialogue spoken. And
That's odd.
yeah, I think it's meant to be like for the typing of the sound, maybe. But anyways, I was very disappointed with the fact that this isn't voiced over, especially since you're doing a lot of running or you're focusing on the background and the dialogue comes up kind of quick. There is a lot of text inconsistencies as well. Sometimes the text is too fast. Other times it's too slow. Uh, Sometimes there's even a timer on the text. So you'll see in the bottom corner, it'll have a pie chart, and you'll have to wait for it to be done. Uh, you can't skip the text. So if you do
Yes.
read faster, then you can't hit a button to skip it. Despite how often I do instinctively.
There are like so like it's like only in text cutscenes, which is weird to say, but like there's like talking cutscenes where they play the text and you read it. It's in those that you can't skip ahead or read faster. when you're roaming around the towns or whatever, and you're just talking to random people, you can kind of blaze through the text at like a normal speed or whatever speed you're reading at. But yeah, that is one thing that has really hampered me with this game is the cutscene text speed is like either sometimes I'm barely able to read it in time, but most of the time I'm like, okay, I've read it again. I'm halfway through reading it a third time, and then it goes, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is very slow. This just and it's takes me just kind of takes me out of it.
Yeah, I feel like the quick fix to this is just to have press the button to continue.
Yeah,
Just have it set up that way. Just make it simple, have it flash as fast as, maybe you can have a control speed for some people who just as it, want it to scroll at a certain speed, but just nothing else. Dump the text, have it skip forward. It does give you the option of having the minimalistic text or something like that, or simplified or like modern.
right.
And I switched to modern because it just reads easier.
Mm,
The pixel font, like kind of style of the simplistic version isn't bad, but with all the reading that you're doing, I just found it easier just to read it with the more modern style. Let's see. Uh, there is so the I like the look of the game.
mm-hmm.
I don't like the look of the people. I kinda
Mm-hmm.
wish they had like, a nicely drawn 2D sprites instead of, the pixel people. It kinda reminds me of was that Sword and Sorcery? That really minimalistic, indie game from a while back?
Okay.
Um, I think that's what it was called? I can't but anyways, it's because the backgrounds and some of the effects are really nicely done. I just don't really get a lot out of it by not being able to see my characters. I don't necessarily need to have the uh, was that the visual novel version of like having your character completely printed out above the text. I don't need that, but I would just like to have my character be a little more visually, pleasing, and the rest of the characters, and just. But then you'd quickly see how many NPCs are copied and pasted, which all you do is have to scroll over one panel, and you'd see like a person on crutches, and then you see that same person on crutches copied and pasted over here. So it's not very unique in their assets that way, but because it's blurry, it's harder to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
uh,
something that I
yeah,
did that I did want to say is that I believe this game was made in Ukraine. I'm almost positive that that's the case. So that kind of explains maybe the longer development cycle, and then some other kind of issues that we'll talk about in a minute with the game. But yeah, I'm kind of getting a sense, putting it together that this game was not easy to make for many reasons, and that sacrifices kind of had to be made in order just to kind of get it done before it fell into like the Duke Nukem, forever, uh, or Duke Nukem, what is it, the 3D, where they just took forever to make the game and finally had to give up.
Duke Nukem Forever,
Okay, that
and
was right the
so
first time.
yeah, 3D was the one that most people played.
Okay, yeah.
So the other things with this is the platforming is wonky. It's sometimes it has to be like pixel perfect almost. Like you have to run to the very edge. Other times when there's a couple cutscenes where you're running away from something, and then there's obstacles you have to jump over. Though I have a pretty good lead. The moment I trip over, if I miss jump, then they're like, "Oh, I stumbled so hard I can't get up," and then I'm gonna slowly try to, and then nope, you get caught. I'm like, it just kind of kills the momentum. Then you restart again. Um, there was one legit glitch that I saw that was later on where I freed some people from cages, and then next scene, like they're all free, but when I walked in front where I originally encountered them, there was a speech bubble that said, "Hey," because I was supposed to get your attention so you can go to the background to get to them. Well, that text box still triggered. So as I'm running back and forth, even though everyone's free, it's like, "Hey, this text box," I'm like, "This,"
A ghost.
so it's kind of yeah, and there's just too much stuff to read with the collectibles. There's a lot of collectibles. I've been getting them all,
Yeah.
and I've been skipping most of it because I'm like, I'm not gonna read an encyclopedia or like if I have to read a book about this game to get the world building, there's enough reading in this already. I'm not gonna waste my time more just sitting and reading.
Yeah, I got that kind of feeling as well. Whenever I have been picking up the collectibles and reading it, a lot of the times my eyes glaze over, even though I'm reading the words. I'm kind of like, I don't really have any context for this. It's not particularly like with like the found audio files that you have in games or found text that you have in games, journals and stuff like that. Just because it's found and it's supposed to be random in the world, it does still need to kind of tell a narrative in each thing and all together. And I think that it's like telling me about the corporation that I'm supposed to be afraid of, and about like the history of the area and kind of what happened, but it's not really done. But it's like done in too much of a matter of fact, like way after the fact, encyclopedic kind of way a lot of the time. And so I'm just like, okay, so there's like some nuclear stuff that was happening, and that was a problem, but okay, and I
Right.
just
So
sort of
so where you are in the game, it's still early enough that it's a lot of it's like newspaper found, found
a lot
clips
of it,
kind of
yeah,
stuff, but later on there are notes relating to people that you've come across. You
gets more personal.
uh yeah, it does. So one of the one of the safe zone, the station,
Hmm.
one of the guys happens to they have a history with the mines, and then you find some notes related to that person with that person kind of deal. So there's that, but I also skipped most of that reading.
Yeah,
So it was just well, like I said, I'm collecting it to collect it because I have to itch that lizard part
because
of my
you're
brain
you have a set.
where it
Yes,
was
we've
like
talked
where
about
it's like,
this. Yeah,
but it's also not that much of a far stretch to really explore. That's the other
they're
thing is
almost always right there. Like there's one that um when I
I know
was
exactly which one you missed.
well, I don't know. Actually, I didn't miss it. I missed, but I missed it. But then I realized I missed it, and I was like, no. And I reloaded the game, and it I hadn't saved yet, but it was there's a point where you turn down a road, and I realized as I turned down the road and was stuck on that, as the screen faded to black, I was like, wait, there was an opening there. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Exactly, because
Yeah,
I did the exact same thing as I just hit the Y, all of a sudden you turn to go, into further into the screen, and I'm like, "Pause, reload from last checkpoint," went far to the right,
yeah.
the camera shifts, I'm like, "There it is, okay,
Yeah.
yep, got it."
Yep. That's exactly the exact 100% the exact same thing that I did. So yeah, I
Because
mean,
I mean,
so
yeah,
but
this
besides
game
that, all of this stuff, all the collectibles, it might like even if it meant me missing them, I would actually prefer if like there was more like, oh, here's a hidden door that you would have just run past because you were trying to, go through the game faster or fight enemies. But if you're paying attention, you would know, like just more things like that where where you there are secrets and you feel like you would feel like you found something or did something rather than it just like being laying there with a glowy spot on the side of the
see,
screen.
I actually like the glowing spot. I like the fact that it's just bright and hard, like, there's no reason for you not to miss it when you see it. I actually prefer that. They What they do is they still have the yellow path for in that, like, kinda like, games would paint
Right.
on, walls for you to climb up, Uncharted style or something like that,
Yeah.
which is fine, but they have it there, but they also have it not as bright, which kinda makes it annoying later on because certain spots I've had to replay, you haven't hit some of them yet, but there's one spot in particular that was kinda frustrating because it was a platforming section jumping from one end to the another. And then it's just like, okay, I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to go. So I climbed to the next end. I'm caught in a spotlight. I have to restart. I
Mm.
have to then continue again. And then I kind of make it to the next spot. Then I'm fumbling around. Okay, I quickly made it to the spot. Then I got caught in the spotlight. I restarted. And that happened a few times. I'm like, this is annoying. Um, the there's the platforming. There's a section like later on. You get a I'll just you get a pickaxe, which essentially lets you climb.
Spoilers, bro.
Yeah, it's fine. You get to clip onto certain spots of like cracks on the wall.
Okay.
So that's a little finicky. So when I jump, I'm over it. It doesn't give you the icon the thing like press now. Excuse me. You're supposed to just hit it. I'm like, okay, so I'm right above it. I clip it, and I didn't hit it, I guess. And so what I realized is if you jump and you just spam the button, you'll just get it, no problem. I
Okay.
mean, there's no penalty for not spamming it. So it's yeah, those are my cons. I have a few positives. So what anything else you have to say about that?
I mean, yeah, I'm not quite as far. I just finished chapter two. So I'm only about 2.5 hours in to it. So I can really only talk about, kind of stuff in the early game. I feel like there should up to this point there should have been um more combat, and I feel like the combat that is there, I'm hoping that it will expand out and kind of do quite a bit more, or do at least some more. It looks like it will do, some stuff. But I feel like there should just be a little bit more there with the combat. And I feel like there should be a little bit more there with the exploration of the world and things like that. I have to reserve judgment a little bit because I'm not all that far in. But to your point about the kind of the highlighting of the way you're supposed to go, I'm not ready to say that they're doing it right, but I think that directionally, what they're doing is correct. I Because I have been down in a pit at one point, and I was like, wait, how do I get back up? And I had to kind of pause for a microsecond, and then look at the sort of direction where I thought I should be going before I noticed the yellow marker that was there to guide me like up there. And I think that's like what I want from these games is like I don't want you to be distracting, but I don't want to get stuck either. So when you have like yellow spray paint on the side of a cliff in like the Amazon that like Lara Croft is like going through, it's like, well, there's no reason for there to be yellow spray paint on this side of this cliff on this mountain. It just takes you out of it completely, and it's very distracting. But Ghost of Tsushima, where they kind of make the rocks a little bit brighter white or like brighter silvery color, that's like, okay, it kind of blends in, sort of makes sense. Still a little bit too distracting. But it is better off. I think that these guys are doing pretty close to the right thing, at least as far as I've seen so far. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for like a sub $30 price point, I think this game is probably, there's only so much that you can actually expect from it. But yeah, I've also been experiencing some slowdowns and some pauses in the game that I did not initiate. And I think that might be because I'm trying to record while I play a little bit, and I am also playing on 32 by 9, which is quite nice, but I'm just kind of concerned that maybe there's something wrong with like the VSync or something like that, or maybe just because I'm not playing on a standard the standard 16 by 9, that might be kind of giving me problems or something. So anyway, I don't necessarily think that has to do with the game, because I talked to you about it a little bit earlier, and you weren't having really the same issues, so it's probably a me thing. But yeah, like it's I think my biggest problem with the game is I do think that it is paced a little bit too slowly, at least so far. And I think a lot of that has to do with the dialogue not being, progressible. I don't want to say skippable, but at least progressible at a little bit faster rate. But yeah, I mean, like I'll kind of go into some of the things I do like, which just, I mean, the art style is very cool. Just it's very different. It looks pretty. It's pretty clear to read most of the time. Just as like the visual style is clear to read, um, and you don't really see a lot of it in exactly like this. You don't see a lot of it in other games. There's plenty of games with pixel art style. There's plenty of games that do pretty cool things with it, but something quite like this. Is pretty few and far between, if not really, unseen up to this point. I do think that the environments are so far all the ones I've seen are really great. Like they feel designed. You're running through an area and there's probably some reuse there, but it does feel like okay, this you know block of the past few scenes is very different from the previous block of the past few scenes, even though they're all in the same biome. Um, so the combat does have. I think they're leaving a little bit on the table with the combat, as I said, but I do think that with the parrying and the dodging, along with the normal attacking, is pretty cool. So there's at least they're at least doing that, functionally well. I did find myself thinking about the combat and some of the other things in this game. So already so far, I was like, man, I hope this game sells pretty well because I really feel like if they can get some money and they can get some stability in their region, um, that a replaced two or re-replaced or whatever they call the second one could actually be like significantly better just because they can iterate and kind of do everything that they need to like again to make it better. But yeah, I mean, it's too early to give it a rating, but I don't think it's really living up to my expectations really so far.
Yeah, so I think you're being very harsh on the combat because you haven't unlocked the heavy attack
That's
or
fair.
the firearm mode yet. So you've like not experienced the full breadth of the combat.
I did just
Um,
unlock firearm, but I actually haven't used it. So yeah, I'm sure there's going to be
so
more.
so yeah, therefore you haven't uh so to look down on it now. Later on, if you still think the same, that's different. But right now, it's like yeah, you only have the dodge, the parry, and then the base light attack. But I thought that was even that alone felt good. I thought the way the combat feels, the sound effects, the way the parry works. Later on, you'll get it's like with the pistol, you get like execution cutscenes kind of things, which are pretty cool. Um, the heavy attack mechanic is a nice feature. Um, Overall, I think the combat is one of the highlights. I don't need to have combat all the time. There's just the combat segments,
Yeah.
which is honestly fair enough. Um, I think that the slowdowns, I think that's on your end, because I'm running an older system. Uh, I'm running at least a generation older, GPU and a far older CPU. Then plus I'm running also at the same screen resolution as you. So
Hmm.
I think that might be on your end, considering the fact that I haven't had any issues like that. I am using a controller. I'm not using mouse and keyboard for this game.
Yeah, me too.
And like I said, one of the big things is I actually do like the feel of this game while fighting. It's really simplistic. It is. There's not a whole lot to it, but it's just well balanced though. I feel like if there's any mistakes, it's on me for the most part. You know, there's not a whole lot to it, but there doesn't need to be actually. Um, all right, then it might unlock more for me later on as I go on too, but I do consider the combat a plus. And then, like you said, I also second the visuals. So I think the visuals are good. I just kind of wish I've said this now, like I guess two podcasts in a row, but it reminds me the gameplay and the time frame, I guess, reminds me of uh Deadlight, which was that old 360
Right.
zombies game set in Seattle, but it was also 1980s. but it was like our timeline, but zombified.
That is sort
Um,
of one thing you just reminded me of about this game is it's set in the 80s, but it's in like an alt history where where technology advanced differently and faster in like the 50s and 60s. And then and so you're in like what, 83? I think the game starts in 83 or sometime in the 80s. Um and so it's like whenever I was reading through some of the some of the text that the game has, it kind of I was like, wait, it's 1983 in this game. I was like, this, I thought it was supposed to be the future, but it's some sort of like retro or
I wanted to say it
futuristic
was
retro.
84, but I couldn't
Okay,
remember exactly what year, but that's exactly it's just like
okay.
very much it's a divergent, thing. I was like, it's weird to make it as such and then not I don't know, I guess there's no real right answer with that
It's a
one.
video game. Yeah.
Because if you make it too much of our timeline, then people are gonna wanna have insert modern affairs or something like that. Like, where did things go wrong and how did we become the corpo state that we are?
I
Like
mean, I see why they did it because like you have a lot of weird. You, you have to go into the past a lot of times to find technology that looks like technology. Like a lot of our technology today, it just doesn't look like, it's just not big as life. It's like very small, it's out of the way, because in real life that's kind of how you want technology to be, is not in the way. But not in the way doesn't look good on, in art or on a screen. You want to have a lot of big dumb buttons with lights and dumb cords, plugged out of people's heads everywhere. So I kind of get it. And so like, well, if we're going to get to that, then we have to go a different route. So we have to do things, alt history style, I guess.
yeah. Did you get a chance to play any of the arcade games?
No, I haven't gotten to that part yet, I guess.
Okay. There's a couple of they're very rudimentary, but it's, like, one of them is straight up like a Frogger clone, which is fine on itself. It gives some rewards for it. Um, but all said and done, this game is leaps and bounds better than Romeo's a Dead Man. So, hands down, not even a
Yeah, I
question.
mean, it's definitely trying to do something, and trying to do something more, I would say, authentically unique than all of the rehash stuff that Romeo is a Dead Man does kind of have. So even if it's, so even if this replaced is not a complete success, at least it's it's got a better aim, I think, than that game does.
Yeah, I plan on finishing this game out though because it doesn't feel very long. I like I said, I'm not quite. I think maybe I'm like a third through is what I'm feeling. Um, maybe no, I'm not. I don't think I'm quite halfway yet.
Okay.
And the it has some nice visual flair to it as well. They play with the depth perception, and it kind of does remind me of Shadow Complex in that sense, where Shadow Complex was probably one of the very first 2.5D games that I can remember
Right.
because they actually had enemies at some moments where they were like in the background. You were still in the front, only single plane, but then you'd be able to fire into the background or maybe the foreground. I can remember if they had foreground enemies. But anyways, that was kind of an that's a neat play on the old Metrovania twist. But this one does actually have having you move in layers forward and back a little bit. I just wish I could see my characters better. Like there's the standard cyberpunk trope person of someone who is like the mad genius hacked in mechanic kind of person, and their name is Yo-Yo because of course it is because that fits
Yeah.
you know, and I would like to see a better image of them all like, VR hooked up, glowy eyes and, cords and cables coming to them. Um, you get the vibe from it, but it's not doesn't quite hit as hard. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah, that, I mean, like, it is games like this game, and then some of the other games I've played more recently, like especially like Romeo's a Dead Man, um, just kind of make me appreciate how good Stellar Blade was. As I was playing that game, I was like, this game's really good. It's really fun. but I don't think I appreciated it enough because of how good the combat was in that game and how good a lot of like the secrets and stuff and story being whatever weirdness it was. It was like it was a really good game. You know, pretty much all the way through, and so yeah. Sometimes I play these games and I'm like, man, I feel like if they just done it like Stellar Blade, in their own style, but like if they just done this like Stellar Blade or just done that, like, but that's just the world we live in.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Romeo, actually, Romeo's Dead Man, I focused on Stellar Blade a lot. And like, I platinum Stellar Blade. I'm like, yeah, that is leaps and bounds better. And it was from a new team as well. And, not doesn't have the track history that you would have had with Grasshopper games. But Grasshopper games looked like I was trying to make it, like I said, like an old game that they just kind of threw into the modern setting and then tried making it as pop culture as relevant as possible. Now, this, here having in replaced, I'm kind of curious about uh, the depth of the story. It's pretty simple, and like I said, I think having it voiced would have been just so much nicer in order for them to be like, you have some flashback moments, and those flashback moments go by pretty quickly. And so if you're just I like to look around at the scenery too, and because you're not just pressing A to progress dialogue, so then I'm just have strictly focused on text. Um, or when the characters are talking to themselves, I would like to kind of be able to hear that. And I understand that money's tight and but I feel like you can get a lot of acceptable voice acting, like from ADP's very own Nick, with the man of a thousand voices, especially if you need an Irish man who sounds Scottish and a Scottish man who sounds uh, fake Scottish. So, you have a very good, a very good voice talent here, off of Fiverr. Okay. Just,
I
5 cents
mean,
per line.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like I I do think that it's like there's got to be a lot of voice talent. Um, that there's there. Yeah, I mean, you're joking about Fiverr, but like legitimately, there are people on Fiverr who could probably do some of the more minor roles, and you spend a little bit more change on like some I don't even say like successful actors, but just like very minorly successful actors. Let them have a lead, to take the lead role in this, and I mean it's not going to be particularly cheap, and so I kind of get it. Even if you only voice acted like the main cutscenes, that would that would do a lot for it. But yeah, it's just one of those things where they probably just had to deal with the funding that they had, and they were like, look, this is what we can do, and we can't afford to get a game half finished and not be able to sell it. So this is where we are.
Yep. So all right, that's about all we're going to talk about for replaced for now. It'll come back again because at least I'm going to finish it and I'll let you know my final thoughts. Do you think you're actually going to take the time to finish this one?
Yeah, um, I probably will, especially if it's not that all that long. I was hearing it was sub 15 hours or so, so that shouldn't be too bad. I've honestly just the past couple nights I've tried to play it after work, and it literally was putting me to sleep twice, and so I was like, okay, so I think if I can get to it this weekend when I've had plenty of rest in the middle of the day, then I'll probably be a lot better off for actually being able to power through several more hours. Maybe get a good stride and then be able to keep going. So yeah, but
All right.
yeah,
Cool.
I do plan to finish it.
All right then. But why don't you tell us what you have finished?
So yeah, so a little while ago, I happened upon a game called Creature Kitchen on Steam, and I think I saw this game come out, and I was like, that looks kind of interesting, um, but I was like, eh. Then I kind of scrolled on, came back to a little bit later, and there was a lot of good reviews for it, and I was like, okay, it's very cheap. I think it was like $7 or something like that. And so I bought it. It's a very short game. about 3 or 3.5 hours long, and you are a person who happens upon a cabin in the woods, and it never mind the point of any of that, but you happen upon a cabin in the woods. You go inside, and there's the kitchen right there. And as soon as you go in, um, and basically the point of the game is to cook things in the kitchen and then take them out to the outside yard or different places inside of the house and feed these creatures meals. And then when you have fed them the right meals in the correct quantity, then they will leave you a key, and then the key will let you open up a different part of the kitchen or a different part of the house. And then you proceed on from there, and you unlock the mystery. And so yeah, it's a simple game. Uh, it's pretty fun. It doesn't try to do anything more than it needs to. Um, there is a camera involved as well, so you can take pictures of the creatures and then you get more information from them that way. Um, there's like a pantry that I went into, and uh, I couldn't see to the end of it, so I started walking back to the end of it, and I just kept walking and walking and walking, and it never ended. And then I turned around and walked 2 steps, and then I was back at the door again, and I was like, okay, so this is some sort of magical thing going on here. But yeah, it's a it's a nice, cute little game. Um, Not gonna blow you away, but it's it's got some good, cute little moments in it. It also has a radio that you can turn on in the kitchen with 3 stations, and there's 2 music stations, and one is like just a talking station, and you can tell that the developers just created the stuff to put on these stations, and it's not like amazing, but it's very interesting. Like they have some interesting music, not a lot of it, but enough to kind of keep you occupied. And then they have some weird like X-Filesy type stuff on the talking station. It's just like weird things that they sort of say and kind of what are they saying? Um, but yeah, it's a game that is definitely worth the time that you can put into it. I think there's probably a lot of different things you can do to 100% it or whatever. Um, that would make it take like probably 5 or so hours, I think, is what I saw. But a good 3 hours, good afternoon session on a weekend. Um, if that's what you're looking for, then this game would be that would be right up your alley. There is some more like magical stuff that goes on, but I don't want to spoil that. But yeah, like this game is probably gonna be on sale for 25% or half off. I would imagine on a Steam sale soon, and it's already pretty cheap, so that would make it very cheap. And I think at that point worth pretty much anybody's time.
All right, that's cool. I know you told me that I should give it a shot, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at it. You know, probably after Pragmata.
Yeah.
So because that's most definitely I want to finish Replaced, and then Pragmata is my big meat and potatoes game. So
Yeah, that's my plan as well. But yeah, it's a good little game. It's cute. It's got some other weird stuff in it as well that's just good enough to make you smile. So yeah.
all right, so all right, back to some anime. New anime is coming out all the time now this season. We got some new stuff that got dubbed, and some so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about one that I'm like, I'm surprised it got a season 2 because season 1 was, uh, pretty well panned
Mm.
for being some of the lowest, animation quality. on the levels of like One Punch Man, like season 3 or whatever, or the last season One Punch Man that everyone seemed to make fun of. So this is the beginning after the end, season 2. So season 1, so many like had a really it's a really neat premise kind of story. It's an isekai story, but the person in question was not Truck-hooned. Instead, they were the previous like king of the world, quite literally.
Mm,
Um, they were like the ultimate king, but it's kind of a neat, you know, quasi alternate future type time frame where he used swords to fight, but he also bombed the hell out of everybody. So, like flying vessels, skyscrapers, but swords too. So, anyways, he dies in combat, reincarnated to a far flung future where like everything is now kind of everything must have burned to the ground and came back up again, kind of deal. But now there's magic, and so his parents are 2 loving parents in the middle of nowhere, and then he realizes he can use magic, and so yeah, they go ahead and try to train him at a young age kind of deal. Anyways, season 1, the combat sequences, any action scene in general, just like motion wise, uh, was PowerPoint presentation level. And it was
mm,
one of the things that never bothered me until enough I read it, I saw enough comments about it. I'm like, and then I started really paying attention to it because I think my brain just parsed it out like reading manga. So I was like, okay, just I was just like, whatever. And then I'm like, oh shit, they're right. Yeah, it is literally just them jumping at someone, unsheathing their sword, and then the next scene, them having stabbed someone, and it's just like, "Oh, that's a lot of, cut corners for sure," and I'm like, "This is the story is actually not terrible, but also it's not." I'm like, "There's no way this is ever gonna get a second season," and
the animators
lo
are
and
like, you
behold,
get the
yeah.
idea. You get the idea.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just, lets you fill in the blanks with your imagination.
Yeah.
The best CG of all. Your creative genius. Yeah. So, anyways, season 2. Well, much looks like the same studio. I think it's Studio A Cat or something like that, which looks like they had time to pay their employees because it is animated, and that is what we're gonna go with. It so far looks better. There's a time jump. There's a kind of time jump at the end of season 1, so slight spoiler. But it's just like so you continue from the end of season 1. Um, yeah, that's really it so far. I've only seen the first episode that was dubbed, and I'm probably gonna watch this one because, like I said, I actually kind of like the story of the first season. It's just it was if you're one of the people who can grit your teeth and bear through it, maybe just I don't know, read the manga.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
if you're already gonna have to, watch it in stop motion in the first season, then maybe read the manga, and you don't feel like
but
you're being ripped
the
off.
best the best part is it's a great second screen experience because 'cause you're not gonna miss any of the good action.
Yeah, it's
So,
like it's like those like AI manga readers that you like so much off of YouTube.
oh man, those are great in a bad way, but it gets the job done, because
Well,
there's no way I'm gonna read a lot of memoirs, man. Memoirs are rough to read sometimes.
I
Uh,
mean, you're kind of joking about it, but this did pique my interest because it's like, well, if it got dubbed, then I can catch up on it probably pretty quickly. And especially if I don't really need to, if I'm not missing out on much by watching it while I cook dinner or whatever and do something else or wash dishes, so my eyes can't be on it literally 100% of the time, then I don't have to feel so bad. Because like sometimes I have to rewind, like if I have to rewind an anime or go back on it because I'll have been like mixing the meat while something awesome happened. And I'm like, well, I don't want to like miss the good animation, from by doing that. So I may as well go back and rewatch it since it's right here. But if it's not that much and I can catch up on it and then join in season two, I might try to do that.
yeah, I'll let you know, it's like if you do continue to do that, let me know. I'm kinda curious to see your takes on the story. It goes places, it kind
Okay.
of has its own adventure, like, it's a decent journey. But yeah, alright. The next one that I'm gonna be mentioning is, a couple episodes are out now. This one's subbed only, for now. It's an observation log of my fiance who calls herself a villainess. So, as we know, the villainous genre, like isekai, well, it's a subgenre of isekai, and has been run into the ground. And so now only parodies can really break through. Just like, may I ask for one final thing that came out, the other season, like 2 seasons ago now, which was hilarious. Well, this one is the take is you're now seeing it from um, the potential husband's point of view. In this case, he is a young prince who's super gifted, just completely um, all powerful, like good at everything he does, very smart, physically fit, all that stuff. He meets his new, bride candidate, and his fiance then boldly claims that she is she's been a reincarnated person into this fantasy world. She then starts saying how she's the villainess, she's gonna be like the greatest, and she's then starts spouting some other things. She like giving some like talks about how she realizes her mom's gonna pass away in a few years, and so she starts bawling about that. And then he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, the entire time he's like, "This person is odd." But because of that, for someone who is gifted at everything, someone who surprises him is obviously piquing his interest. And then she claims she kind of predicts the future, and he kind of starts taking it. It's like, let me just go ahead and experiment with this. I'll take this serious to a certain extent, and we'll see what happens. And like later on, she's like, yeah, that pandemic never happened. It's really weird. And he's like, actually, it happened, but because of your advice, went ahead and cultivated those herbs or the flowers that we needed that were really super hard to find, and so we were able to quash that pandemic real quick. Um, so this is kind of a just a unique play on that trope, and we'll see what happens. Haven't seen, I might come back to it with a full, 3 episode review or something further on if I keep on watching it. But for now, I just do like the fact that it is a twist on the whole villainous or isekai, concept. So,
It sounds
all right.
like they're a good. I mean, I haven't watched it, but it sounds like they're a good foil for each other. Where it's like she's um, seen all this before or whatever, but he's like super genius. So kind of their powers combined, they can actually do a lot more. But they do need each other, kind of.
So yeah, it's one of those things that I'm not sure how it's going to play out necessarily because in generally, like these kind of the Otome game villainous genre of stuff, it's like, oh, the villainous is going to be executed or banished, and therefore they're doing everything they can to avert that or trying to get themselves financially stable on the outside, something. So her end game isn't clear, and she's like very much not thinking that far ahead. I'm not sure exactly how old she is supposed to be as before the reincarnation,
Hmm.
but she acts, very brash, like compared to most people would be reserved and be like, I should keep this quiet, keep this quiet. But if she had a superpower, if she was like Spider Man, she would have blurted it out to the world, like check out these cool superpowers, She's the so this is kind of a different take on it. And once again, it's like, yeah, having the level-headed prince, but also having like this person's like just if anyone came to you and said that, you're like, this person's insane, and then
Yeah.
so I'm more interested in seeing how this plays out. Hopefully, I'm hopeful for it. Is was what I'm saying. Because I do like a good twist on a common trope or a genre, and yeah, that's about it. So just it's piqued my interest. I just wanted to voice it out there. And at least episode 1 didn't suck. And so episode 2 is like, it's all right too. So um, but we'll see if it takes off like for like further on.
Okay. Good deal.
All right. And now, Nick, you've gone ahead like you always do, and you got us some news. So what do you got to tell us?
Um. Yeah. Okay. So we got some news here. So you remember that story that we were kind of following about Street Fighters? Alex, the character Alex, and
Alabama
how
Alex?
he's married to his sister cousin or cousin sister, whatever. I think it's more cousin sister. Um, so the story, a quick recap, is that Capcom is getting into some hot water because pretty much no matter which way you slice it or read the stories as they've graduated them over the years, he is married to either his second cousin or his his stepsister. I think those are the two options, which are not great. The stepsister, I think, technically is less bad, but still is cause for concern.
Both
So,
are perfectly fine in anime. That's where you that's the problem, is there this is an anime, and therefore this is wrong because you're hitting a Western audience in a very, public setting.
but
So,
it's
yes.
Capcom, so they're kind of they're probably more used to an anime audience a little bit. But so anyway, so that's kind of the whole rundown of what's been going on. Um, so Capcom, hearing this, said they were going to do something about it, and they did. They tried to fix it with an update to the story with like one extra screenshot or one extra story, panel that literally does nothing. It all it does is confirm that Alex and the I forget the girl's name, but Alex and the girl that he marries are related. It's like a single panel that says that his mom did marry somebody, no, or that this person that he's talking to is distantly related to his mom or something like that. And then it's like, well, that still just confirms that they're related. So it's kind of just more out of the frying pan into the fire for Capcom. I don't think that they know what to do about it. I don't think that they feel like they can retcon it. It's just a funny situation that we're going to continue to track here on another Dead Pixel.
So they need to double down on this now, and once again, it's like I said, I was joking about just saying Alabama Alex, but once again, that just have him start giving him backstory about from being from the deep south somewhere, and then, it's just like, she has to work at a Waffle House, right? Something like that.
so, so your answer is just to throw fire or just to throw gasoline on the fire. Just, just put it out with some gasoline.
I mean, his opening intro has been related, like, they say he's got it from, they're supposed to be modeling him after Hulk Hogan. So, I mean, there's a lot of bad things you can grab from that. So just roll with that. I mean,
There definitely
uh,
is. There definitely
so no,
is.
it's a character that I never cared about, never knew about. They came from Street Fighter Third Strike or something like that, which, I mean, the timeline, I don't even care about the Street Fighter timeline anymore. So it's just like, um, they did the Fast and Furious thing where Tokyo Drift turns out to be far flung future with flip phones,
Yeah.
and then everything else was just filler up until that certain point, and that's kind of what Third Strike was supposed to be. And it's just like, whatever. Um, it's not a
It's hard to
surprise.
predict the future, turns out.
Yeah, but once again, it's just like, someone should have given this script a pass from the Western side. Be like, hey, wait a minute, wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah, there's I mean, I'll just double down. Well, I mean, to be fair, they set up a lot of the stuff between the two. Well, I guess that's the thing is they set up a lot of stuff between the two. They needed, they need a fact checker at Capcom, or maybe like a family tree checker or something where they have a big family tree, or family trees for all the characters that in a room, and someone's like, well, these two people are going to get together, okay, are they related in any way? And then maybe that's what AI can be for. AI can be for, if your fictional characters are check to see if your fictional characters are related. That would actually be a pretty good use for it, I got to be honest.
Um, yeah, I mean, AI has been noted to call itself all sorts of, or to be, programmed to do all sorts of horrific things. So
Yeah.
I'm not so hung up on that. But once again, obviously, no one play tested this character to the end of his scenario, or else they would be like, "Wait a minute, excuse me?" Uh,
Yeah, they would have. I mean, yeah, I think they just wrote it and they didn't look at what had happened before, and they're like, yeah, it's fine for these two people to be together. And it's like, oh, and then but like fans were like, wait a second, they're related. Um, it's just clearly like it's like give it to the intern to do, and they do it, and it's like, but they don't know the history because they're just an intern.
yeah, it's different from, it's like once again, Japan having a history of trying to keep royals and all that, noble blood and all that stuff. So, cousins, second cousins, historically it makes more sense, but it's,
They were
once
probably
again, not a we're not a Eastern
they're
audience.
probably trying to go for
So
some sort of like a childhood friend sort of thing, and it just backfired maybe.
they love them some childhood friends too. Uh,
Yeah.
so all right, man. Thanks for that update. Thanks for nothing, Catcom.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got for us next?
um. So there's going to be a Bloodborne animated movie adaptation. Um. So that was kind of announced by Sony. There's some other strange things that are going on about it. Well, so Lyrical Animation, who is also working on the Death Stranding Mosquito movie show, whatever. So they're working on it, and then Sony's or PlayStation Productions is working on it. But those are not the weird things about it. The weird thing is that also brought in to help produce this movie is YouTube's or the YouTube creator Jacksepticeye. He has been listed in among the three kind of entities that are going to be making it. People are kind of confused by this. A lot of the headlines that you're gonna see about this are kind of gonna lead with that, like Jacksepticeye is making this movie, and from what I have read, he's involved, and I think he's maybe tweeting about it maybe more than the others are, but it's not like he's the only one making it. They do have kind of two other uh, uh, legitimate studios that are there to I guess spearhead it or help or whatever. So it kind of remains to be seen how involved he's going to be. But it is a little bit odd to kind of see a YouTuber um, be in on something quite like this, especially since FromSoft is not really involved in this at all. So it's kind of just leaving people kind of scratching their heads. What else I read it in the Kotaku article in this is that, to be fair, Jacksepticeye does have like at least two Bloodborne tattoos, and he does like rail on about the game quite a bit. Apparently, I don't really watch his content, but people have said that he is very much a diehard fan. So that kind of makes sense that maybe he caught the attention of Sony, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to be involved?" And maybe he was like, "Yeah, I really want to be involved." And so they're like, "Okay, we'll throw you a bone, and we'll get some free publicity out of you for the game as we make it." But yeah, so that's just something that's been flowing around that people are finding kind of weird.
All right. Yeah, like I said, they have a huge history with doing like deep dive content. I can see them, like what's his face from who used to do Game Theory being with Five Nights at Freddy's in the movie or something like he has a cameo.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm trying to think who that
like
is.
I can, yeah, I can't remember the Game Theory guy right now off the top of my head. I've never really watched Game Theory, but I know a friend of mine who was often talked about the channel, and then uh, yeah. So in this case, if this person, Jacksepticeye, like if he does a lot of Bloodborne content, I can see that being the case. That's the only real logic that loophole that I can think. But when it comes to this person, I've never heard of them, and I did a quick Google search, and right next to them on the chat was they're pulling a Markiplier. name popping up.
Yeah.
So if they're friends and stuff like that, like doing Markiplier, doing was that Iron Lung recently and stuff like
Mm,
that, I can see having a little bit more pull, or like if they're trying to branch out of the YouTube, channels into real business, as it were, quote unquote. Um, then maybe they have being able to convince or doing pitch meetings and try to get financially set up in other ways, but within the gaming realm. So I can see that working.
yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that turns out okay.
Yeah, here's to hoping. I mean, I know that Jacksepticeye is a very big channel, and he's been around for a very long time. So it kind of makes sense from that front. He's probably just trying to branch out and do a little more.
All right. What else you got for us?
Next up, I moved this one up a little bit in the docket because it's a bit more important, I think, than some of the other ones we've got. But so Naughty Dog, as of December 2025 reporting, there's some reporting that they are crunching again on their new game Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. But there was an article more recently where an ex dev, was saying that he kind of thought that crunch was necessary for their kind of game, and I kind of skimmed the article. I did read through a little bit of it, and I think in some of his quoted words, he was saying that that they would have meetings where they would talk about what they had to do and how much they had to crunch, and they had to they talked about like, okay, how can we mitigate crunch, and he said like they had meeting after meeting like that, more or less, but that they kind of came to the conclusion like this is sort of what we have to do to make the kind of game that we want to make. There's just realities to the time limits that we have and the quality that we're shooting for, and so this is just what it is. And that there was sort of a consensus like if you don't like it, then like you can you can apply some to work somewhere else. And I just I I wanted to bring this up because I noticed that it had come back in the news a bit, but it's a little bit of a belief that I have kind of held for a while, is that like if you really want to make something that's really great, it is going to be really hard. And I think that there's like levels to crunch. There's like certain people that should that should not be asked to crunch, and there's certain people that very much I would understand them being asked to crunch, like anybody with significant shares in the company and stuff like that. Seems like they would be more involved with the crunch, and it's just sort of a hard thing. It's like I think there's got to be laws for it and stuff, but there's also kind of realities to how like what kind of thing that you want to make. And so I just wanted to bring this up and kind of get your thoughts on it.
All right. When it comes to crunch, there's I kind of look at it as like there's good crunch and bad crunch. Bad crunch is due to time mismanagement and like overbearing deadlines. Like you are now forced to crunch in an extreme excess to make a certain deadline. Nothing good comes from that. You get employee burnout. You have bad health from that. You end up having a poor quality product because you're just ramming everything at the very last moment. uh but if you're going to do like a homework analogy or some a school project analogy, that would be like literally waiting till the 11th hour to then be like, oh, I need to do my entire project in one go. Now, so a lot of times when it comes to like there's the busy season and there's like like you have your different stages of development. But if you wait too long, or if you try to go at a smooth and calm pace, you kind of get an like almost you end up wasting too much time and procrastinating. You kind of have to have a forced busy season. If it was like factory work or something like that for food, you have certain seasons where overtime would be necessary because you're trying to meet production values. But then when it's the off season, you would lean back, and kind of like same with games though, and or any other project. You're like, okay, well, we have to enforce a type of crunch or a type of, hey, this is our focus time. We need to get over these hurdles to get to a certain percentage of the game. And once we get to that point, we can maybe ease off, take a look at what we got, then assess how the quality of the product, and then from there, you know, so, ramp it back up again, focus, everyone buckle down, because fortunately, not everyone can take afford to take their sweet time, or if everyone is taking their time, maybe you're going at a nice, comfortable pace, but then someone else over here is twiddling their thumbs because they're waiting for X, Y, or Z to get ready, and then they can't get started until that's ready. So if you there might be a cause for crunch, and not saying it's good to have it all the time. And there, like I said, laws in place, stuff like that. There's a difference between going from a standard 40-hour work week to 60 to 80. It's like,
Yeah.
because a lot of times when you hear about those nightmare crunch stories, you're talking about 80, 100-hour weeks. Staying overnight at the company. It's like working Saturdays, working Sundays. Like 7 days a week. Uh, all for months on end at the very, like, just to cram it in at the end. That is obviously a form of torture at that point. But if you're able to plan it out appropriately and have everyone buckle down, like, hey, we need to get to this point done in the story or whatever production that they see, uh, that might be viable. But then be like, okay, now we can back off, relax, take a breather, and now let's go again. It's just like it may not be the most comfortable or most ideal situation, but also uh, if you take too long making something, either so a lot of times what comes out is not as good because you end up getting like an avatar situation where it's like you've taken so long that the previous thing, the hype for your previous thing has faded now. Or and especially if it's a known quantity that's been in process forever, they're like, oh yeah, that thing, I forgot about that. The fact that you forgot about it is not a good look. And also the final product, if it's just going to be on par with the predecessor or something like that, like it's then you're kind of burning goodwill, if it's not exceeding expectation. If you're taking all the time in the world, it has to exceed the expectation that everyone has for it. But if you're just going to come out with something middling from a company that is well known, uh, like Naughty Dog, then it's like you know either you take your time, make it better, or you kind of have to pace yourself appropriately within the 3-year time gap for an average game, 3 or 4 years, and come out with something at least as good, to the previous game that they made. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And so sometimes crunch is necessary just because you got to get people's butts in gear. Um, it may not be the most favorite take.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm not talking about running people into the ground. I'm not talking about doing it for months on end. But I'm saying there's moments where you have to push people, or else no one's going to really get motivated to do anything.
I think there needs to be an eyes wide open sort of thing. I mean, not that I really want crunch culture to come back, because I do think that is, even if you do go into it knowing what you're going to be asked to do at certain points, I think there's a level where it's just where regulation does need to step in and say, look, you can't be working people beyond so many hours so many times, no matter what, depending on their level and stuff like that. But with those limitations in place, I think that a little bit more of an expectation setting for the industry, where it's like, okay, if you're gonna go work at Naughty Dog, or you're gonna work at maybe one of these bigger studios like Take Two or something, where we're gonna make like a kind of a world changing game, like we are literally aiming for Game of the Year and Game of the Year type sales. You come work here and you start working on this game, it might be fine for the first few months, but like when it comes time to crunch, we are going to crunch, and there are and you may be asked to work 90-hour weeks. Now, government has a limit for how many hours, but we're going to hit that limit or whatever. I think that would result in a lot more people not necessarily being happy with it, but at the end of the day, they would have to admit, at least to themselves, like I did, a lot more of them would have to admit to themselves, like, well, I did sign up for this. I did know this was possible. And it is like a big time game publisher, a game developer. Um, I think it's the surprise that really kind of sucks. When you think that you're going to get to go on vacation, or you think you're going to get to go to like a, I don't know, go get an oil change or do something with your car, do some other errand, and it's like, no, you can't. You have to work, 80 hours this week. Or when you come in and you have like, you have dinner plans with your significant other for that night, but then somebody comes around and says, hey, can I take your order for dinner? And you're like, it's like 8 a.m. and your evening is already blown because you just got told that we need to crunch now. That is that kind of stuff is sort of derailing to people's normal everyday life. And having a surprise 16-hour day is not something that anybody wants. And it just makes the last, you know, 8 hours of that just pretty much like unbearable. And it just really ruins morale and stuff like that. So there's probably a happier medium, I would say, that we can get to, because I do think there's just realities to business, like, and especially in an industry that is getting ripped apart by AI. I don't imagine that. So I think that crunch is going to come back in a big way, like as we're kind of already seeing with this, Naughty Dog report from late last year. But I think that with AI coming in and getting a lot of causing a lot of layoffs, at least in my opinion, I think that's what's happening. I think that you're going to see crunch come back where there's going to be sort of the unspoken thing where, like, well, you better crunch because if you don't, then AI is going to come and take your job. Or like, you need to crunch and be grateful for it because you should just be grateful to have a job. So that might come into play as well, and it's just something that we've got to watch out for. But yeah, I feel like the crunch thing is going to come back, and at the very least, it's a story that's not over yet.
Yeah. Once again, I think it's so long as it's planned ahead accordingly in like a busy season in a factory or something like that, when like there's going to be a time in this production that we're going to have to ramp it up, and it's done early enough so you're not cramming it at the end and not going beyond expectations. Just a standard overtime. That's like
Yeah,
most people call that overtime, but depending on the light you paint it under, other people would call it crunch.
yeah.
Um, and once again, I'm not talking. It's like it's one of those things that if you plan accordingly, it can make sense. Um, I don't think it's I don't think crunch culture ever went away. It just became socially shunned.
Mm.
But I think I do agree it'll come back a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna come back as much as you think. I don't think the AI is gonna be the overlord that makes people crunch. I think it's because the thing AI is gonna do what AI is gonna do, and, uh, no matter how
No,
much you
no,
crunch, the companies
no.
are gonna just
I think it's going to be like it's going to be a quiet sort of thing where people are not going to complain. Like, crunch is going to be there, but people are just not going to complain about it as much because they're going to be like, well, I just should be glad to have this job. Cause like a bunch of people, like 1,000 people just got laid off at Marvel, which did actually happen, like, or like so many hundreds of people just got laid off at the developer next door. So I should just like shut my mouth and just be glad to have a job, even though I'm working like 80 hours a week. I don't know that's going to happen, but I could just kind of, I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves, kind of navel gazing and being like, I wonder if that would be any of a factor.
Yeah, I think because of public image, it's one of the things that they can't what made it so big is people kind of knew what was going on. They didn't know to the extent until it's finally brought to light. And therefore a lot of the whole rightfully so, we all would like that's a bad thing, and spoke up for on behalf of developers and stuff like that, being like, yeah, crunch is overall negative. There is times where it's a positive, but once again, overall, because usually those circumstances was, hey, we are behind schedule, and guess what? You don't have a say in it. It's either it's like you got to crunch now as long as it takes, as hard as it takes. Um, forget the birthdays, forget the dinners, forget any of that stuff, anniversaries. This is what matters, or you can enjoy those things on your own time, just not with the company. Like that is absurd.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that, you can't, that can be avoided and it should be avoided. And that's when rules and regulations should be evolved. But that's why a lot of uh, the idea or the concept of uh, people unionizing in gaming industry, and then, it's like, well, as you saw recently with the Ubisoft thing a few months back or whatever, it was like, hey, this one outfit decided to unionize. Oh, they happened to do a corporate layoffs, and that group just happened to be a part of it. It's like, isn't that just a coincidence?
That happens
Um,
almost every single time. I mean, I would love to see the actual stats on it, but and it's probably just the news articles that get pushed in front of me. But like, it does seem like every single time anybody unionizes and is successful, then give it 3 months, a year, whatever, and they just get nuked.
so, anyways, so hopefully, for the sake of the end product, I hope it's good, or else it made the crunch pointless. And that's the key
Yeah.
takeaway. If the product comes out to be like revolutionary, game changing, there's at least some argument to be said. Hey, that crunch was necessary
Well,
because
yeah.
it did something different.
I do think if you're like if you're like a QA tester, and you're being forced to crunch for fairly low wages, that's not really right in my estimation. It's like, but we're paying you time and a half. It's like, yeah, some things that just are not worth time and a half. I do think that like if I was lower on the totem pole at a developer, I think what I would try to negotiate, coming in is like, okay, so time and a half for, hours between 41 and 50, and then like 1.75 from 50 to 60, and then 2x from like 60 to like 90 or whatever. So it's like look, if I'm going to crunch for you like over 60 hours a week or whatever number you pick, then I need to be like compensated for that, because like you're literally like having to give up like basically every hour after 8, you are kind of having to give up normal life things. You're putting off groceries, you're putting off you're like adding on childcare, you're putting off family, you're missing things. um the compensation would, to me, have to go up. But then if you go in with that, and you go with that understanding that that's one, you're going to get paid that if it happens, and two, that it's almost certainly going to happen, then I feel like a lot of people would be more like, the right people would sign up for it, and a lot of people would go in with it a lot, more likely to be like, well, I'm being literally paid double for, the extra 30 hours that I worked last week. Um, so I just feel like there's probably a way around it, or a way, not around it, but a way through it that would be a little bit more acceptable to all parties involved.
Oh yeah, that's most definitely the fair and way, and the way it should probably be.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the moment you say that, they're gonna be like, "Hey, quick, open that door behind you. See that hallway full of candidates? Just grab the next one for you
Yeah,
on your
could you
way
call
out."
the next guy in? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
that's
you have a point, and but but that's
they were the ones
it's
laid off next door, so just come on
yeah.
in.
See like those 10 guys, yeah, they are from the studio that just shuttered. So if you want to try that with with their old studio, then you can just call them in. Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, and and I mean, there is just kind of a segment of society that does just kind of get downtrodden. But like, those are the people that I feel like regulations can and should be put in place to protect like the most. Is like, okay, these people have the least negotiating power, So like regulations need to be watching most closely for them. But yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, there's hopefully things will get better before they get worse, but unfortunately, like I said, we both are predicting it will get worse pretty soon. Um,
It's the way to bet.
so
Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah, expect the worst, hope for the best. All right. What else you got for us, man?
Okay, some of these last ones we can kind of run through a little faster. This is a bit of a bigger story that happened just after our podcast last week, I think over the weekend and stuff. So basically, some hackers got into a Rockstar studio and they hacked a bunch of documents and they threatened to release them and Rockstar didn't budge apparently, and so they did release these documents, and that was kind of a big to do that we would probably be talking more about. Except that what they released didn't really move the needle in a bad way. In fact, it kind of did the other thing, which is when the hackers released the financial documents. It basically showed that GTA 5 was pulling in like $1 million a month or some crazy amount of money per month, showing that Rockstar and Take Two were doing really good financially, and it actually caused their stock price to bump upward quite a bit at the beginning of the day. That the financials were released from the hackers, and it leveled off. It kind of came down a little bit again, but but it did give him a little bit of a bump. So a little bit of a backfiring there. I haven't really followed too much else on the story, but I did find that part at least kind of funny. So thought I'd mention it.
Yeah. Considering the fact that that seems like a scenario out of GTA 5 anyways, so it's kind of funny that way.
It kind of
Okay.
is. Next up, there's a face model that seemingly leaked Spider-Man 3, the Spider-Man 3 game. They sent a tweet out and then immediately deleted it, but not fast enough for people to notice and grab whatever was on it. I forget what was on it, but apparently it kind of alluded to Spider-Man 3 in some way, shape, or form. So wish that guy well. I'm sure that he'll be standing next to you in the bread line.
All right. What else you got?
We wish him the best. But yeah, so next up, so yeah, this one, you kind of have to. I kind of meant to tell you to go and look this up, Joe, and see what you thought about it prior to the cast, but I forgot to, so that's on me. Sorry about that. But there's a Pokemon Go player who lost the championship due to quote unsportsmanlike celebration. He plans to seek the reversal of this decision. Said he felt no ill will toward the referees or people that were in charge of making that decision, live. But I watched the video of it, and if the video is to be believed, it seems like he celebrated, but in a very rational, subdued, but appropriate for the moment kind of way. So if I could just describe what happens in this video, he wins, stands up, and faces the crowd and just kind of gives like a fist bump, like, yeah. Something that would be perfectly acceptable in any golf tournament or tennis tournament. Um, you know, very tame as far as like sports celebrations. He did that for like approximately 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds, and then turned over to his opponent, shook his opponent's hand. They congratulated each other. The opponent did not seem like they were like, but he did this. It didn't seem like mad or anything like that at all. Seems utterly ridiculous to me. The guy was literally just won, their championship. I don't know how else he's supposed to react. It's not a library, man. Like it's seems totally fine to me. So anyway, I just wanted to bring light to that because I because based on the video, unless there's something I'm missing, it just seems like something that should 100% be reversed. So, yeah. Uh,
The quick screenshots I saw was him like pumping his fists, so and then kind of like, yay. So with that, uh yeah, I expected him to be trash talking somebody. Like,
that's what
you
I
know,
expected. I expected him to throw a chair or say like, you like who are you? I am. Who are you? I am. I mean, that was way worse than this, and I just I watched it and I was like, okay, I'm expecting to see something where I'm gonna have a hard time judging it, but I was like, no, this is open shut. I don't even know. I don't know how this. I mean, I'm wondering if there's like now I'm wondering if there's like a betting thing, like on Polymarket or whatever, where it was like someone will be called for unsportsmanlike conduct, and then one of the judges bet on it and then made it happen so they could make a buck. Um, but otherwise, it just seems crazy to me.
uh roll it up, just roll it up to Nintendo being Nintendo, even though it's not Nintendo, but still blame Nintendo.
We can still blame
It's
Nintendo.
Nintendo adjacent enough. Nintendo needs more stringent rules and regulations. Bring out the lawyers. Uh, Anyways, all right. Yeah. Hopefully that guy gets his. If that was the full case, and if it was just him just doing a celebration pump, I mean, the NFL does worse in the end zone for for simple touchdowns. So.
I mean, they do call it, sometimes, but they do like they do actually have certain rules as to what you can and can't do, and it is turned, turned down quite a bit from what it used to be, even in the NFL. But yeah, it's always unsportsmanlike stuff is always very loosey goosey. It doesn't really matter anyway. So going on, this I put toward the end because it's just a rumor right now, but the rumor is that Microsoft may be planning to remove Call of Duty from Game Pass in order to make it less expensive because there's some scuttlebutt that people internally are saying that Game Pass is too expensive and that's why they're not, I guess, hitting with the numbers they want to with it, and so that might come out of there. And yeah, so it remains to be seen, but that would be interesting. I mean, that would actually make it more attractive to me because I personally don't really. I'm just not like I'm just not a pro gamer or whatever, and I don't really love first person shooters or Call of Duty. So it not being in there, if that made it cheaper, would make it more enticing to me personally. But that's just something floating around that I thought I'd mention.
Yeah, wasn't there the recent bit of the Asha Sharma saying that admitting that Game Pass is too expensive?
Yeah, I think
Like
that's what I
that
was.
just
Yeah,
happened within like the last week as well. So the fact that it came from the new head's mouth, like, hey, at least they're aware that they've inflated the price too much. I'm willing to have a cheaper Game Pass if it means losing Call of Duty. I think that in the long run, I don't know. It's just like how many people are just jumping on for a month just to play. I mean, because the
yeah,
thing is, if you pay Game Pass currently, if you pay for like 2 months, you've almost paid for the full game because it's like $30 a month for Ultimate,
yeah.
I think right now. So it's not.
It's a lot.
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, and
that's
so the average person is if you're paying for Game Pass for Call of Duty to play online, there's a Warzone or whatever, like to any of that stuff, then they're making money off of them? I have no idea.
I,
So the
I
game they've been very quiet about how much Game Pass is making in the background and how much it costs for certain things. So
I imagine that they probably thought that Call of Duty would help Game Pass out, and I think that it probably has helped it a little bit, but they are probably hurting Call of Duty more, and so they're like, well, Call of Duty people are not Game Pass people, and not really, and vice versa as well. So we really need to keep. So they're probably coming around to the idea that we've done what we can. We've let it play out. It's not working the way that we thought. We probably need to separate those two things so that we can get 100% of both audiences back and and be better off for it.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully Game Pass gets cheaper. Fingers crossed.
Right, right. Last two things. These I pulled specifically for you, Joe. Number one, Escape from New York reboot is confirmed to be in the works. Um, so
Why?
because we live in the darkest timeline, and because it's going to be very fun to hear your rant about this movie, which you do not have a choice. You will have to give. Um,
Yeah. All right. So we'll start the GoFundMe on this just so I can so I can have my kids have a babysitter and I can go to the theater and get hammered while watching it. Um, but yeah, the all right, fine. I think it's supposed to be allegedly developed at Studio Canal. So I'm like, all right, they're not a
Studio what?
bad canal.
Studio
Con?
Canal. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, they I have zero interest in a remake. Zero. Like what they should do is they should do like the opener to uh was it Tropic Thunder and turn Snake Plissken into the Scorcher franchise
Okay.
where is this like no one expected him to save the world. No one expected him to do him like six more times, you know, and then it's just like and you know, it's kind of something stupid like that. But just make a Hideo Kojima. Let him make it. He's been wanting to make a movie. Let him. You know, he stole Solid Snake from Snake Plissken. I mean,
Yeah, he
he
did.
wears an eye patch and everything. I mean,
Wholesale.
it's his Snatcher soundtrack sounds. If you ever listen to that sound, it's the one of the main guitar riffs sounds like the opening, like the theme to the thing, John Carpenter's thing. So yeah, he's very much uh
Following Kurt Russell
Kojima's very
around.
much influenced by John Carpenter.
Okay, yeah.
So, and once again, the just like the Thing reboot that happened in like 2010, 2011, completely pointless, unnecessary, hot garbage. No one remembers it. No one knows that that exists. No one should. It should be buried and
I
forgotten.
remember
Just
it.
like
I watched it a
well,
couple of years ago.
well, then you're an idiot. Um,
Yes, yes. It was not good. I mean, yeah, it was not good.
and just like, well, it's just like you probably like your homeboy Colin Farrell's version of Total Recall as well. That happened around was it 2011,
I think I
2012.
abandoned that. I think I got about 20 minutes in and I was like, nah, I'd rather watch paint dry or something.
I never made it past the trailer.
Well,
So yeah.
well, I'm better because I didn't even make it past the trailer.
Because you know that it's you because
Yeah.
it does only takes two brain cells to rub together to realize,
Look,
oh, that's not going to be any better than the first. I already have a superior version.
sometimes
Why
you're
would you
three.
actively?
Sometimes you're 3 glasses of Cabernet Sauvignon deep and scrolling through Netflix and your finger slips. And there you are watching 20 minutes of Total Recall 2.
You're better off just dropping the controller and continuing to finish the box of Cabernet Sauvignon that you
Yeah.
started. Okay.
I
Oh,
am really looking forward to when you do have to watch this Escape from New York. I am looking forward to the moment because I'm going to watch it too. I want to be able to identify the moment that you say out loud, not like this, not like this.
no, I won't be able to because I'll be playing my own personal drinking game, and I won't tell you the rules. You'll just see me taking shots the entire time, and so eventually, at some point, I'm just gonna glaze over, black out, or go comatose. One of the three. So maybe all combined. Who knows? So that could be the very well the end of another Dead Pixel podcast.
Well,
Um,
the alternative, it's you touch on that. Like the alternative is, I just create like an AI VTuber of you, and then I just program them to say whatever I want to about Escape from New York reboot, and then you don't have to be on that cast, and we can just pretend you can just pretend it never happened. I mean, it'll go up as normal, and it will be canon, but we can pretend that you can pretend it never happened.
you're just, I don't see you going through the effort of the AI bit. You're just gonna make a little Muppet of me with just half open mouth, agape, Pac-Man style. And you'd
Yeah,
be
it
like,
will be that.
Nick, you're so great. I'm so glad you're the best part of the show. You know,
Yeah, it would be pretty much like that. Yeah, yeah. It'd be like a 6 hour episode. 4 hours of it would be just,
just glazing you,
just
just be like
glazing,
this.
just glazing me.
All
Uh,
right, but yes, once again, I honestly like. I don't want a movie to be bad, but I don't see a reason to remake this film. Escape from LA wasn't a better movie.
No.
Uh, it had a fun ending, but that was about it. There's it just doesn't hit the same. There's just I mean, uh, yeah, Escape from New York. They're gonna redo the Escape from New York, but they're gonna take out the Twin Towers now, because that
Mm,
was in the original.
yeah.
It's just like we don't I don't know, there's a lot of things. People were affected by the '70s and, like, that kind of an '80s, like, crime wave, New York. It was before New York got revitalized.
Right.
I mean, you had The Warriors, like that iconic film come out, and people had a certain mindset about, gang culture and trash and stuff like that. And it was a certain type of filth and grit. I mean, it doesn't quite hit the same, so you can't really make it a satirical time. Like, I want them to do their own thing and make it satirical of today, but I don't know how you do that. Um,
Yeah.
instead of just rehashing someone else's vision, this is literally for your parents or for your grandparents, like,
Yeah. It
there's nothing for today's audience.
doesn't really jive with the New York of today. Um, it just I don't think it's gonna. I mean, it's just the name. They're like the thing is that there's a lot of people who have never seen Escape from New York, who are too young to have seen it, too young to have any idea, and they are moviegoers or they're movie watchers or whatever, and they will watch this just because it was a thing that they have heard of, that they heard was good, and that's it's just they're just trying to get the money from the name, but yeah, maybe it'll
So
be
what?
good, maybe it'll be interesting.
The Republican pitch of ICE ran out of places to send all their deportations, so they're just going to fill up New York and wall them off.
I, I
There you go.
I mean, I do think that like the worst thing that they can do is to base it off of any kind of current events. I think the best thing they can do is just to go, okay, we know New York is not like this anymore, but we had some good ideas, and so we're setting it in a kind of alternate reality where New York is still like it was in the 80s or something. That's probably the best that they can legitimately do, I think.
See, the thing still worked, as even though the remake wasn't good, but at least with that, the idea of, you're isolated, and in the Arctic, so it doesn't matter. There's no pop culture real references. It's a horror movie where you can't escape because there's a blizzard, and if you walk too far out, you're gonna die. But if you stay in here, you're gonna die. So
Yeah.
the idea of, I don't know, it's just, and especially modern settings, the having it just doesn't work. I think it's pointless.
It's cash grab.
Yeah, like I said, and honestly, like, I don't I'm kind of, you might be able to sell me depending on who's directing it, but like I said, I feel like just let Kojima do it. It'd be weird and stupid, and you know what? That it might be different enough to, just like the Mario Brothers movie, just make it its own thing,
All I
and
have to
then we're good.
say about that is be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for, because then you'll end up with the ending of Death Stranding 2 as your escape from New York. But I guess, I mean, if you're expecting it to be horrible and bad, then it may as well be like, and then like you have nothing to lose. Like you're expecting it to be bad. At least it could be like so bad that they never do it again, or they don't do it with, one of your other beloved properties. But when does that stop them? I don't know.
Yeah. None of my properties are sacred. They're all gonna be like, that's the problem, is it's like there's
That
no franchise that won't be soiled by some
like
corporate's hands.
nobody is going to nobody is going to remake Armitage the Third. Like it's just not going to happen. I really hope this gets clipped out when they do remake Armitage the Third.
I mean, yeah, well, it's like Battle Angel came out, right? It's just
That's
like,
true. That's
I had
true.
someone at work talk about how try to actively recommend that movie, and I just turned around and snapped at them in the break room. I'm like, "No, what is wrong with you?"
No, no, bad Jimmy,
Like,
bad.
you don't understand how long we had to wait just for James Cameron to be like, "Oh no, I'm not even going to take care of this anymore." Like, we all thought the guy who's going to do Aliens and Terminator, we thought he was going to be helming this, and no, he's going to pass it off to someone else, and they're going to CGI the crap out of it. Yeah, it was. So, anyways, uh, Escape from New York. Yeah, my if I was a betting man, I would say it's not worth your time. Hopefully I'm wrong.
When it comes out in 3 years, I guess we will get to know for sure.
I
Um,
never thought I'd want production hell to hit something so badly.
oh man. All right. Last thing on a little bit of a sweeter note. Metro 2039 trailer got released. It's kind of a long trailer. It's mostly it's mostly a cinematic trailer, but it's still cool, you know, nevertheless with some pretty good looking gameplay. Hard to tell how much of it is like, you know, real, but yeah, Metro 2039 trailer is out. I don't know if they said when it's actually coming out. I feel like they did, but yeah, I knew that you're a pretty big fan of the Metro games, so save this one for you as well.
Yeah, it was a fun new drop. That was cool. I mean, it's going to, obviously sequel to Metro Exodus. The Metro franchise has been a fun one. I think graphically they've been solid games. I don't know. I actually don't know the book series that it's based off of. I knew it was originally based off of a book series, but it's just one of those things I like. Yeah, I'm never getting around to it, and I knew that from the start.
Mm.
But I always did like the setting, the quality of the gameplays. Uh,
I
yeah,
mean,
I'm excited about this one. I mean, yeah, the trailer was a lot. I just but, the last minute or so, 2 minutes was like, "Hey, this is in-game footage, in-game cinematics." I'm like, "Great, that's what I wanna see," and if they had just done just a visual trailer the entire way through, I'm like, "Well, that was a waste of time." But since they did show us actual stuff at the end, I'm like, "Alright, that's good."
yeah, I mean, like it's hard to tell from, you know, even 6 minutes, which is a long trailer, but it's hard to tell how good it's going to be. But it does look like a high production value game, especially if there's very many cinematics, you know, through the game that are like that. But even just the raw gameplay, if that really is the gameplay, you know, looks really beautiful. Honestly, like lots of assets, lots of like the creatures and stuff, very detailed. The lighting looks fantastic. Um, yeah, looks looks good. I mean, like I'm a layperson in this case. I haven't played these games, but definitely didn't send off any alarm bells for me. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, every now and then you get a good, something that's just, fun and nice to hear. And that's all I need to know. I mean, I will wait for it to come out. Don't really I'll be patient about it. When they came out with Metro Exodus, it was kind of a feast for the eyes with some of the tracing, elements that they put into it, and that was really good. Gameplay was still solid. Uh yeah, from what I know is like the books ended in like 35, 2035, so
Okay.
it's kind of continuing the story. So and once again, since I never read the books, I don't really have any of that canon, mind. It's like, oh, it has to be, or like, oh no, they're ruining my characters in as far as the original creation. But hey, I'm all right with that. This game, uh, the VR one, I only got to play a little bit of, and then I got sidetracked by a bunch of stuff, and that was actually one of my most anticipated games for VR that had come out in a while. So I still have more to play of that too, but I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to hook back into VR or play that. But the Metro games series is of one that I will always recommend if you like a semi scary first person like shooter. It kind of it's also a little stealth in there too. Apparently, I never knew about it until after the fact, but when I played the original game, like, it gave you a clear ending, like, choice at the end for me, but then also apparently I played it wrong because there's actually there's a official way to get a proper good ending, and that's to be, like, a pacifist as much as you can,
Oh,
at certain segments, and I'm like, "Oh, I did not know that at all." So
yikes.
I never bothered doing the deep dive into be like, to watching other people's endings, but it was always one of those things that I need to get back around to playing the original again and just kind of marathon that whole series because I really like that game, the series and the franchise as a whole. So, all right, but yeah, 2039 coming out in the future. Yay!
Yeah. Okay.
All right then, guys. Well, if you made it this far, we appreciate it. This has been ADP episode 172. Is that right, Nick? All right. So,
172, yes.
all right. Well, guys, thanks again. And Nick, what are some words of wisdom you have for the people out there today?
Every once in a while, uh, take a sanitary wipe and wipe down your controllers. Just
Probably your phone too.
yeah, your phone. Just don't worry about it too much. Just every time you think about it, go ahead and do that.
All right, guys. Until next time, this is ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.